The first year of marriage felt like healing. Not because life suddenly became easy, because they finally faced it together. The old Harrington estate never truly felt like home, so Miles sold it. Instead, he and Evangeline built a house on the land, beside Willow House Arts Center. Not a mansion, not even close. The architect had nearly fainted when Miles rejected the marble staircase and indoor theater. "I don't need 12 guest suites," Miles had said. The architect blinked. "You don't?" Miles looked toward Evangeline, who was sketching flowers in the margin of the blueprints. "I spent most of my childhood sharing a room with 20 boys," he answered. "I don't need space. I need home." So they built one. Large windows overlooked the willow tree. A wraparound porch held 2 rocking chairs where Lydia liked to drink tea every afternoon. One room was filled with shelves for Evangeline's paints. Another became Miles's office, though he spent more time working from the kitchen table than behind a desk. And upstairs, one bedroom remained empty, painted pale sage green. Before we step back beneath the willow tree, do me a quick favor. Like this video, subscribe for more emotional love stories, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I love seeing how far these stories travel. And yes, I read every single comment. Now here's my question for you. If life gave you a different version of the dream you prayed for, would you recognize it as a blessing? Or would you be too busy mourning the plan you lost? Tell me what you think, because I really want your opinion on this one. Now let's get into the story. Waiting. Months after the wedding, Evangeline stood inside that room holding a tiny stuffed rabbit someone had donated to Willow House. Miles wrapped his arms around her from behind. "You've been in here a lot lately," she nodded. "I keep imagining little footsteps." He rested his chin on her shoulder. "I do too." She turned toward him. "What do you think they'll look like?" He smiled. "They'll have your curls." "You think?" "And your laugh." "What about you?" "They'll inherit my inability to throw anything away." She laughed. "And they'll definitely inherit your stubbornness." Miles pretended to look offended. "I have no idea what you're talking about." She kissed him anyway. "We should try." He looked at her. "You sure?" She nodded. "I think we're ready." Miles smiled. "So, do I?" The first pregnancy test was negative. Neither of them thought much of it. "It's only been a month," Evangeline said, setting the test in the trash. Miles kissed her forehead. "We've waited 15 years, she laughed. "We can wait another month, then another, then another. 6 months became 8, 8 became a year." The jokes became quieter. The hopeful glances became careful. The unopened nursery stayed exactly as it was. One rainy afternoon, Miles found Evangeline sitting alone in the nursery. She was holding the tiny stuffed rabbit. He didn't ask. He simply sat beside her. After several minutes, she whispered, "I think something's wrong." He reached for her hand. "We don't know that." She looked at him. "I do." The fertility clinic was bright. Too bright. The waiting room was filled with smiling photographs of babies. Miles hated every single one. Not because he didn't love children, because they felt like promises someone else had already received. The tests took weeks. Blood work, scans, specialists, appointments, silence. Finally, the doctor folded his hands. "I'm sorry." The words landed like stones. "There are significant complications." He carefully explained. Years of untreated childhood malnutrition had affected both of them more than anyone realized. Growing up with inconsistent meals, years of stress, the physical effects of neglect, separately, either might have still conceived. Together. The odds were incredibly small. The room became impossibly quiet. The doctor continued speaking. Options, treatments, procedures, statistics. Miles heard almost none of it, because beside him, Evangeline had stopped moving. She didn't cry at the hospital. She waited until they reached home, until the front door closed. Then she collapsed onto the kitchen floor. Miles was beside her instantly. She buried her face against his chest. "I wanted," she sobbed. "I know. I wanted to see your eyes in our baby." He held her tighter. "I know. I wanted to paint our nursery. I know. I wanted—" Her voice broke. "I wanted to give you the family we never had." Miles gently lifted her face. "You already did." She shook her head violently. "No." "Ava." "No." Her words echoed through the kitchen. "I couldn't even give you one child." The sentence shattered him. He cupped her face. "Look at me." She couldn't. "Ava." Slowly, "She did. I married you because I loved you." Tears streamed down her cheeks. "I didn't marry your ability to have children. But I waited 15 years to find you." His own eyes had filled now. "You honestly think I'm going to lose sight of that because life didn't happen the way we imagined?" She broke completely. He held her until sunrise. Months passed. They tried. Treatments, different doctors, second opinions, third opinions. Each one ended the same way. Hope, waiting, heartbreak. One afternoon, Miles found a tiny pair of baby shoes tucked into the back of Evangeline's closet, still in the box. She had bought them months before their wedding. She hadn't told him. He sat on the floor holding them for nearly an hour. That night, he quietly placed the box back where he found it. He never told her he had seen them. The strain crept into their marriage in ways neither expected. Not anger, never anger. Silence. Miles buried himself in work. Evangeline painted less. The empty nursery became a room neither of them entered. Lydia watched them drift. One evening, she finally marched into their kitchen carrying a pie. "You two are exhausting." Both looked up. "You've spent 15 years trying to find each other." She pointed the pie knife toward them. "And now you're hiding in separate rooms." Miles sighed. "Lydia?" "No." She pointed at Evangeline. "You." Then, "Miles, you are grieving." She softened. "So grieve together." The next morning, Evangeline found Miles beneath the willow tree. He was sitting exactly where they used to as children. She quietly sat beside him. For a long time, neither spoke. Finally, she whispered, "I'm sorry." He looked confused. "For what?" "I've been mourning the family we don't have." She looked toward Willow House and forgot to appreciate the one I do. Miles smiled sadly. "I've been doing the same." She rested her head against his shoulder. "What if—" She hesitated. "Our family isn't supposed to happen the way we imagined?" Miles looked toward the art center. Children laughed somewhere inside. A group of children from the art center were playing nearby. One little girl with 2 uneven pigtails ran past him with a paintbrush in her hand. "Mr. Miles," she called. "Look!" She held up a painting that was mostly purple with one orange blob in the corner. Milo studied it seriously. "That is excellent use of color. It's a dragon." Obviously. The little girl beamed and ran away. Evangeline stood quietly behind the tree, watching him. Milo had always been good with children. He just never noticed. Children trusted him because he listened, because he knelt when he spoke to them, because he never made promises he could not keep. Evangeline sat beside him. He looked over. "You okay?" She smiled sadly. "I don't know." That's honest. They watched the children chase each other around the yard. One boy tripped and scraped his palm. Before anyone else could reach him, Milo was on his feet. He crouched, checked the boy's hand, and spoke softly until the child stopped crying. Evangeline watched her husband gently wipe dirt from a stranger's child and felt something inside her shift. Not disappear, not heal completely. Just shift. That night, as they sat on the porch and listened to crickets sing beneath the darkening sky, Evangeline said, Maybe our family isn't supposed to look the way we imagined. Milo turned. To her, she kept her eyes on the willow tree. When we were kids, we thought family meant someone coming to choose us, she said. We waited for it like it was magic, like if we were good enough, quiet enough, cute enough, someone would come through the doors and say, "That one, I want that one." Milo said nothing. His hand found hers. But nobody came, she whispered. Not for us. His fingers tightened. She finally looked at him. What if we become the people who come? Milo's breath caught. You mean adoption? She nodded, tears rising. There are children out there like we were, waiting, hurting, thinking no one will ever choose them. Milo looked toward the old building that had once been an orphanage and was now filled with art, laughter, food, and warm lights. He swallowed hard. I've thought about it. You have? Every day, he admitted. I was afraid to ask. I didn't want you to think I was giving up on your dream. Evangeline shook her head. No. She leaned closer. Maybe the dream was too small. His eyes shone. She smiled through her tears. We imagined a baby, she whispered. Maybe life imagined a family. Milo pulled her into his arms. For the first time in a long time, the ache in their house changed shape. It did not vanish, but beside it, something else appeared. A door. Open. Waiting. The adoption process was not romantic. It was paperwork, background checks, home studies, interviews that made Evangeline feel like she was being examined from the inside out. A social worker named Mrs. Calder sat in their living room with a clipboard and kind eyes. Why adoption? She asked. Milo looked at Evangeline. Then he answered, because we know what it feels like to wait for someone to come. Evangeline reached for his hand. And because blood is not what makes a family, she added. Showing up does. Mrs. Calder smiled softly. Weeks turned into months. Then, one rainy Wednesday, the call came. There are siblings, Mrs. Calder said. Evangeline gripped the phone tighter. A boy and a girl. They've been in care for almost 4 years. Their names are Caleb and Amara. Caleb is 8. Amara is 6. They've had several placements. Caleb is very protective of his sister. They've made it clear they do not want to be separated. Milo, standing beside Evangeline in the kitchen, went very still. Evangeline looked at him. He already knew, so did she. When can we meet them? She whispered. Their first meeting happened at Willow House. Caleb arrived wearing a too large hoodie, his jaw tight, his small body positioned in front of Amara like a shield. Amara clutched a stuffed bear with one missing eye and hid half behind. Her brother, Mrs. Calder, introduced everyone. This is Evangeline and this is Miles. Caleb looked Milo up and down. You're rich. Milo blinked. Evangeline pressed her lips together, fighting a smile. Yes, Milo said. Caleb's eyes narrowed. So why do you want kids? The question landed heavily. Milo crouched so they were eye level. I don't want just any kids, he said. We wanted to meet you and your sister. Caleb looked suspicious. Why? Because Mrs. Calder told us you take care of Amara. Caleb's chin lifted. Somebody has to. Milo's face softened in a way that made Evangeline's heart ache. I know that feeling. For the first time, Caleb's expression flickered. Amara peeked around him. Evangeline knelt too. Hi, Amara. The little girl looked at the paint tables behind her. Can we touch those? Evangeline smiled. You can do more than touch them. You can paint with them. Amara's eyes widened. Caleb grabbed her sleeve. Don't make a mess. Evangeline shook her head. This is an art center. Mess is kind of the point. Amara looked at Caleb, waiting. He hesitated, then gave the smallest nod. That was the beginning. Not a perfect beginning. Real beginnings rarely were. Amara painted with her whole body, hands, elbows, cheeks, once even her knee. She painted flowers, with purple stems and cats with wings. Caleb pretended he did not care. Then Milo asked him to help build a birdhouse. Caleb shrugged. I guess. 3 hours later, the birdhouse was crooked, over-nailed, and painted black with yellow lightning bolts. Caleb looked at it like he expected criticism. Milo studied it. That is the most intimidating birdhouse I have ever seen. Caleb's mouth twitched. Birds need security, too. Milo nodded gravely. Excellent point. The visits continued. Some days were good, some were hard. Amara warmed first. She began running to Evangeline when they arrived, then stopping herself halfway as if, remembering not to trust too easily. Evangeline never pushed. She simply opened her arms and waited. One day, Amara ran all the way into them. Caleb watched from the doorway, his expression unreadable. Milo stood beside him. You don't have to hug anyone, Milo said quietly. Caleb shoved his hands in his pockets. I wasn't going to. I know. I don't like people grabbing me. Then they won't. Caleb looked up at him. You can say that? Yes. And they'll listen? If they want to be in this family, they will. Caleb looked away quickly, but not before Milo saw his eyes shine. The day the children moved in, Amara walked into her bedroom and cried. Evangeline panicked. Sweetheart, what's wrong? Amara stood in the middle of the room, surrounded by soft yellow walls, shelves of books, a little desk, and the stuffed animals she had chosen herself. It's mine? Evangeline knelt. Yes. I don't have to share? No. No one can take it? Evangeline's heart cracked. No one can take it. Amara sobbed so hard Evangeline gathered her into her arms and rocked her on the floor. Across the hall, Caleb stood in his own room, staring at the bed. Milo leaned against the doorway. Too much? Caleb shrugged. It's big. We can change. It. No. You sure? Caleb touched the blanket. It's just mine? Yes. For how long? Milo's throat tightened. For always. Caleb's face crumpled before he could stop it. He turned away, furious at himself for crying. Milo did not move closer. He simply sat on the floor outside the doorway. I cried the first time Eva told me I could call somewhere home, he said. Caleb sniffed. You? Yes. You don't look like you cry. I try to do it privately. Bad for my reputation. A small laugh escaped Caleb. Milo smiled. That night, Amara fell asleep in Evangeline's lap. Caleb fell asleep on the couch pretending he was not tired. Milo carried him upstairs. As he tucked the blanket around him, Caleb stirred. Don't go, he mumbled. Milo froze. Then he sat beside the bed. I'm here. Caleb's eyes closed again. Milo stayed until morning. The adoption became final 10 months later. The courthouse was small, bright, and filled with too many emotions for one room. Amara wore a yellow dress and kept spinning in circles. Caleb wore a blue shirt and pretended not to care, though he had combed his hair 4 times. The judge smiled down at them. Do you understand what this means? Caleb's face turned serious. It means they can't send us back. The courtroom went quiet. Evangeline pressed a hand to her mouth. The judge's expression softened. That's right, she said gently. It means this is permanent. Amara looked at Evangeline. So she's my mom? Evangeline's eyes flooded. If you want me to be. Amara launched herself into her arms. Mom! Evangeline broke. Milo looked away, blinking fast. Then Caleb turned toward him. He swallowed. His voice was barely there. Can I call you Dad? Milo sank to one knee in front of him. You never have to ask permission for that. Caleb threw himself into Milo's arms with a sob he had held for 4 years. Milo held his son and cried openly in the middle of the courthouse. No reputation survived becoming a father, and he did not care. That night they had pizza under the willow tree because Amara declared that fancy food is suspicious. Caleb leaned against Milo's side. Amara sat in Evangeline's lap, feeding crust to a very hopeful stray cat. Lydia watched from a picnic blanket, smiling like she had personally bullied heaven into giving them this day. Evangeline looked at Milo, across the children's heads. "We found them," she whispered. Milo smiled, eyes wet. "No," he said. "They found us too." 5 years passed. The house beside Willow House Arts Center became loud, beautifully loud. Caleb, now 13, grew, tall and serious with a dry sense of humor that made Milo proud at the worst possible moments. He loved engineering, hated mornings, and built complicated things out of spare parts in the garage. He still checked on Amara before he went to bed every night, though he pretended he did not. Amara, now 11, was color in human form. She painted murals, sang loudly, changed favorite animals every week, and told everyone at school that her mother was a famous artist and her father was dramatic but useful. Milo claimed this was slander. Evangeline claimed it was accurate. The nursery was no longer a nursery. For a while, it had become a reading room. Then Amara turned it into a creative headquarters. Then Caleb used one corner for robotics parts, which led to a heated sibling negotiation mediated by Milo and one by Evangeline offering snacks. Their family did not look like the one Evangeline had imagined when she stood in that room holding a stuffed rabbit years before. It was louder, messier, more complicated, better. That was the lesson life had taught her slowly. Sometimes different felt like loss because it arrived wearing the face of disappointment. Sometimes different looked like an empty nursery, failed test, a dream that would not come true no matter how badly you loved it. But different was not always an enemy. Sometimes different was Caleb asking if he could call Milo Dad. Sometimes different was Amara falling asleep with paint on her cheek. Sometimes different was 2 children beneath the willow tree, laughing so hard they forgot they had once been afraid no one would ever choose them. Sometimes life did not give you what you pictured. Sometimes it gave you what your heart did not know how to ask for. And then, 5 years after the adoption, different came again. This time, it arrived like terror. Milo was in a board meeting when his phone rang. He almost ignored it. Almost. The room was full of executives, lawyers, and investors. A deal worth hundreds of millions sat on the table. People were arguing over projections and risk exposure while a presentation glowed on the screen behind them. Milo's phone buzzed once. Then again, he glanced down. Eva, he answered immediately. Every person in the room went silent. Eva? At first, there was only breathing. Sharp, uneven, painful. His body went cold. Ava? Milo, she gasped. He was already standing. What happened? I don't know, she cried. Something's wrong. The room disappeared. The deal disappeared. The years of power, polish, control, all of it vanished. He was just Milo again, terrified of losing the person he had spent half his life trying to find. Where are you? Studio, she breathed. Pain. It hurts. I can't. Her voice broke into a cry that turned his blood to ice. I'm calling an ambulance, he said, already moving. Stay on the phone with me. I'm scared. I know, baby. I know. I'm here. His assistant, Naomi, appeared at the conference room door, alerted by the look on his face. Call 911, Milo said sharply. Eva is at the studio. Severe abdominal pain. Tell them now. Naomi moved instantly. Milo pressed the phone harder to his ear. Eva, breathe with me. I can't. Yes, you can. Listen to my voice. Milo, I'm here. It hurts. I know. Help is coming. He was already out of the boardroom. Behind him, one of the executives stood. Mr. Harrington, the vote. Milo turned. The look on his face made the man stop speaking. My wife is being taken to the hospital, Milo said, voice deadly calm. There is no vote more important than that. No one said another word. As he strode toward the elevator, he called Lydia. She answered on the second ring. Milo? Ava's being taken to the hospital. I need you with the kids. Lydia's voice changed at once. What happened? I don't know yet. Severe pain. She called me from the studio. Oh, Lord. I'm sending a car to get Caleb and Amara from school. Security will bring them home. Can you meet them there? I'm leaving now. I don't want them scared before we know more. They'll be scared because they love her, Lydia said gently. But I'll be there. Milo closed his eyes briefly. Thank you. You go to your wife. He called the school next, then security, then the hospital, then Evangeline again because the first call had dropped when paramedics arrived. No answer. His hands shook so badly he nearly dropped the phone. His driver had never moved faster. The city, blurred past the windows, all steel and rain and red lights that seemed determined to stop him. Milo sat in the back seat, gripping his phone, trying not to fall apart. He had built companies from nothing. He had faced men who wanted to destroy him. He had survived hunger, loneliness, and years of searching. But nothing had ever frightened him like Evangeline's voice breaking around his name. His phone buzzed. Naomi. Mr. Harrington, EMS confirmed transport. St. Gabriel's emergency. They're en route. I'm going there. Already, told the driver. Caleb and Amara are being picked up. Lydia is on her way to the house. I'll keep lines open. Thank you. He ended the call and stared out the window. Not again, he thought. Please, not after everything. Not after I found her. At St. Gabriel's, Milo was out of the car before it fully stopped. He entered the emergency department like a storm. My wife, he said at the front desk. Evangeline Harrington, brought by ambulance, severe abdominal pain. The receptionist began typing. A nurse appeared through the double doors. Mr. Harrington? Yes. Come with me. His heart slammed against his ribs. What happened? Is she okay? We're assessing her now. That's not an answer. I know, the nurse said, not unkindly. The doctor will explain. They led him through a hallway that smelled like antiseptic and fear. Then he heard her, a cry. His Ava. He pushed forward, but the nurse held up a hand. Sir, that's my wife. A doctor stepped out from behind a curtain. Mr. Harrington? Yes. Tell me what's happening. The doctor looked rushed, serious, but not panicked. She's stable, but we need to move quickly. Milo felt the floor vanish beneath him. What does that mean? The doctor took one breath. Your wife is in labor. For a moment, Milo did not understand the words. They struck him in the chest without making sense. No, he said. The doctor's expression softened. I know this is a shock. No, she's not pregnant. She is. Milo stared at him. That's not possible. It's rare, but it happens. From what we can tell, she was much further along than anyone realized. Her symptoms may have been masked or mistaken for other issues. Right now, the baby is showing signs that delivery needs to happen immediately. Milo's hand went numb around his phone. Baby, he repeated. Yes. Ava? She's frightened and in significant pain. We're preparing for an emergency. C-section. C-section. Surgery. Baby. Labor. The words spun violently. Milo grabbed the wall. Is she going to be okay? That is what we are working to ensure, the doctor said. You arrived just in time. She's asking for you. Milo moved. This time, no one stopped him. Evangeline lay on a hospital bed, pale and sweating, hair stuck to her forehead, eyes wild with pain and fear. The second she saw him, she sobbed. Milo. He was at her side instantly. I'm here. She clutched his hand. I didn't know, she cried. I didn't know. I thought something was wrong. I thought I was dying. He bent over her, pressing his forehead to hers. You're not dying. They said baby. I know. How? I don't know. We couldn't. I know. We adopted. We made peace. We were happy. We are happy, he said, voice breaking. I'm scared. So am I. The honesty calmed. Her more than false confidence would have. A nurse adjusted monitors. We need to move now. Evangeline gripped him harder. Don't leave. I won't. The nurse looked at him. You can come once we prep her. We'll get you suited. Milo kissed Evangeline's hand. I'm right behind you. They rolled her away. For 2 minutes, Milo stood alone in the hallway. 2 minutes. It felt like 15 years. Then his phone buzzed. Caleb. Milo answered, voice shaking despite himself. Dad? Caleb sounded too old and too young at the same time. Is Mom okay? Milo closed his eyes. She's in the hospital. What happened? She's going into surgery. A sharp silence. What? She's going to be okay, Milo said, praying it was true. Lydia is with you? Yeah. Amara's voice came faintly in the background. Is Mom dying? Milo's heart cracked. No, he said firmly. No, sweetheart. Mom is not dying. Then why is everyone scared? Because love makes cowards of us all, he thought. But he said, because we love her. Caleb's breathing shook. Dad. Yes? Don't let her be alone. Milo swallowed hard. Never. A nurse appeared with surgical clothing. Mr. Harrington. I have to go, Milo said. Listen to Lydia. I'll call as soon as I can. Promise? Caleb asked. Milo closed his eyes. I promise. He suited up with clumsy hands. Mask, cap, gown. His world narrowed to the operating room, to bright lights, to blue drapes, to Evangeline's. Frightened eyes searching for him. He took his place beside her head and held her hand. I'm here, she cried when she saw him. Milo. I'm here, Eva. They said the baby is coming. I know. We don't have anything ready. A laugh broke out of him, half sob. Eva, we have raised 2 children. We have 77 stuffed animals, 3 spare backpacks, 8 paint-stained blankets, and a daughter who has been naming imaginary siblings for years. We'll manage. She sobbed and laughed at the same time. What if something's wrong? He brushed his thumb over her cheek. Then we face it together. What if everything changes? He leaned closer. Everything already changed the day I found your painting. Her eyes filled. And then when Caleb called me Dad. And when Amara called me Mom, she whispered. And when Lydia moved into our guest room and never left. She said it was temporary. She lied. Evangeline laughed again, weaker this time. Milo held her hand as the doctors worked. He did not look beyond the drape. He looked only at her, at the woman who had been his first friend, his first love, his lost years, his found future. Her grip tightened. Suddenly, Milo, I'm here. I love our children. I know. No, listen to me. His heart clenched. I'm listening. Caleb and Amara are ours. No matter what happens today, they were not second choice. Tears filled his eyes. I know. They were never second choice. Never, he said fiercely. They are our son and daughter. Nothing changes that. She breathed shakily. This baby doesn't fix anything. No, he whispered. This baby adds to what was already whole. A tear slipped down her temple. That's it, she whispered. What? That's what life keeps teaching us. He kissed her forehead. What? That different doesn't mean broken. Milo broke then, quietly, completely. He pressed his masked face against her hair and cried while machines beeped around them and doctors brought an impossible new life into the world. Then, a cry. Small, sharp, alive. Evangeline froze. Milo stopped. Breathing. The cry came again. The doctor's voice rang out, bright with relief. Healthy baby girl. Evangeline made a sound Milo had never heard before, a sob full of shock, terror, joy, disbelief, and love. A girl? She cried. A girl, Milo whispered. He looked toward the sound, his vision blurred. The baby was lifted briefly into view, tiny and furious, covered in life, screaming like she had strong opinions about being removed from her warm hiding place. Milo laughed through tears. "Oh, she's yours." Evangeline cried harder. The medical team moved quickly, cleaning, checking, calling out numbers. Healthy, strong heartbeat, good color, perfect, perfect. When they brought the baby close to Evangeline's face, wrapped and warm, the world went silent. Evangeline looked at her daughter, not the daughter she had imagined years ago, not the child she had grieved before she ever existed. This child, here, now, unexpected, perfect. "Hi," Evangeline whispered. "Hi, baby." The baby quieted at the sound of her voice. Milo's hand trembled as he touched the blanket. "She's real," he whispered. Evangeline looked up at him. "So were Caleb and Amara." His eyes softened. "Yes, all of them," she said. "All of them." The baby opened her eyes for one brief second. Milo inhaled sharply. Evangeline smiled through tears. "She has your eyes." Milo could not speak, so he kissed his wife's forehead again and again. Later, in recovery, Lydia arrived first with Caleb and Amara. Caleb walked in trying to look composed and failing badly. Amara burst into tears at the sight of Evangeline in the hospital bed. "Mom!" Evangeline opened one arm. "I'm okay, sweetheart." Amara rushed to her carefully, sobbing against her side. "You scared me." "I scared myself." Caleb stood at the foot of the bed, face pale. Milo crossed to him. "She's okay." Caleb's jaw trembled. "You said surgery." "I know. You said she wasn't dying." "She wasn't." Caleb looked angry for 1 second. Then he hugged Milo so hard it hurt. Milo held him tightly. "I was scared too," he whispered into his son's hair. Caleb nodded against his chest. Then a tiny noise came from the bassinet. Amara went still. Her eyes widened. "Is that—" Evangeline smiled. "Your baby sister." Amara gasped. "I knew it." Everyone looked at her. "You knew?" Caleb asked. Amara wiped her tears with both hands. "I told you I had a dream we needed another plate at the picnic table." Caleb stared. "That is not knowing. It is spiritually knowing," Lydia snorted. Milo covered his mouth. Amara approached the bassinet like it held treasure. "She's so tiny," she whispered. Caleb came beside her, trying not to look too interested. The baby yawned. Amara melted instantly. "She likes me." "She yawned," Caleb said. "At me." "That's not a thing." "It is now." Evangeline laughed softly from the bed. Milo watched his children look at their sister and felt something settle inside him. Not a replacement, not a correction, an addition. Their family had not been incomplete before. It had been waiting to grow in a way none of them could have predicted. "What's her name?" Caleb asked. Milo looked at Evangeline. They had not discussed names. How could they have? Evangeline looked at the baby, then at the children, then at Milo. "Hope," she whispered. Milo's eyes filled. Amara clasped her hands. "Hope Harrington." Caleb nodded seriously. "That sounds strong." Lydia wiped her eyes. "It sounds right." Milo leaned over the bassinet, his heart too full for his body. "Hope Lydia Harrington," he said. Lydia burst into tears. "Oh, now that was unnecessary." Evangeline smiled. "It was absolutely necessary." The next weeks were chaos. Beautiful chaos. Hope came home to a house that had not prepared for a newborn, but had somehow prepared for love in every possible form. Amara appointed herself assistant mother, which mostly meant singing loudly. Whenever Hope cried, Caleb became quietly obsessed with making sure the baby monitor worked perfectly and upgraded it twice without permission. Milo learned that billionaire CEOs could survive hostile takeovers, but could still be defeated by a swaddle. Evangeline healed slowly. Some days she cried for no reason. Some days she stared at Hope like she still could not believe her. Some days she held Caleb and Amara longer than usual, as if making sure they knew the baby had not taken anything from them. One night, Caleb found her in the nursery, now a nursery again, rocking Hope in the dim light. He hovered near the door. "Mom?" She looked up. "Come in, sweetheart." He walked in slowly. "Can I ask something?" "Always." He sat on the floor near her feet. "Are things different now?" Evangeline's heart clenched. "Yes," she said honestly. His face tightened. She leaned forward. "But different doesn't mean less." He looked down. "When Amara and I came, was that different too?" "Yes." "Was it bad?" Tears filled her eyes. "No," she whispered. "It was better than anything I had imagined." Caleb looked at Hope. "And this? This is better too. Not because she came from me, because she came to us." He swallowed. "So we're still—" "My son?" Evangeline said gently. "Caleb, you made me a mother before Hope was ever born." His eyes filled. "You promise?" She smiled through tears. "I promise." He leaned into her side, careful of the baby. Evangeline kissed the top of his head. A few minutes later, Amara wandered in sleepily and crawled onto the rug. Milo found all of them there at midnight, his wife in the rocking chair, Hope asleep in her arms, Caleb leaning against her knee. Amara curled on the rug with a blanket. The room that had once represented their grief was now crowded with every version of love they had been given. Milo stood in the doorway and cried quietly. Evangeline looked up. "Are you crying?" "No." "Milo, I'm emotionally observing." She laughed softly. "Come here." He did. Years later, when people asked about their family, Evangeline never told it like a miracle that erased the pain. She told it like the truth. They had wanted one thing. They had grieved when it did not happen. They had opened their hearts in a different direction. And that different direction had brought them Caleb and Amara. Then, when they were no longer waiting for life to match their imagination, Hope arrived like a sunrise they had not known was coming. Not better because she was biological. Not more theirs. Simply another gift, another branch on the same tree. The summer after Hope's birth, they held a picnic beneath the willow tree. It was not fancy. Despite Milo's best efforts, he had suggested catering. Everyone said no. So there were sandwiches wrapped in paper, lemonade in glass jars, fruit, cookies, and a lopsided cake Amara decorated with purple frosting. Caleb set up the blanket with military precision. Amara placed flowers everywhere, including in Milo's hair when he was distracted. Hope slept in. A basket beside Evangeline. Tiny fists curled near her face. Lydia sat in her favorite chair beneath the shade, watching her family with suspiciously wet eyes. Milo lay on the blanket with his head in Evangeline's lap. "You have frosting in your hair," she said. "I know. You're not going to remove it? I've been informed it's fashion." Amara nodded proudly. "It is." Caleb rolled his eyes. "It's frosting." "It can be both," Amara said. Hope made a tiny sound in her sleep. Everyone immediately froze. Then she settled again. Milo looked around, at Caleb, who had finally stopped looking like he expected to be sent away, at Amara, who painted joy into every corner of the world, at Hope, impossible and perfect, at Lydia, who had once fed 2 hungry children extra bread, and somehow lived long enough to see them build a family under the same tree where they had once dreamed of one, at Evangeline, his Ava, the girl he had promised, the woman he had found, the mother of his children in every way that mattered. "What are you thinking?" she asked softly. Milo reached up and touched the copper ring pendant resting against her chest. "I used to think the promise was about getting exactly what we imagined." Evangeline smiled. "And now?" He looked at their children beneath the willow tree. "Now I think the promise was just to keep choosing each other until life showed us what it had been building." Evangeline's eyes softened. "Different doesn't mean broken," she whispered. "No," Milo said. "Sometimes different is better than anything we knew how to dream." Above them, the willow branches swayed in the warm wind. Once, two orphaned children had sat beneath that tree and imagined a future where they would never be alone. Life had not given them that future the way they pictured it. It had given them returned letters, locked gates, long years, grief, infertility, fear, adoption papers, hospital lights, and a baby's first cry. It had given them a son, a daughter, another daughter, a grandmother in everything but blood, a home full of paint, noise, laughter, healing, and love that had arrived in unexpected forms. And beneath the willow tree, surrounded by the family they had found and the family that had found them, Milo and Evangeline finally understood. The dream had not been denied, it had been rewritten. And somehow, in the rewriting, it had become more beautiful than anything they imagined. And that's where we'll leave Milo and Evangeline's story. From two lonely children beneath a willow tree to a family built by love, they learned that sometimes life doesn't give us the future we imagined. It gives us something even more beautiful. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next romance. And before you go, let me know in the comments, what was your favorite moment? I read every single comment, and I genuinely love hearing your thoughts and reactions. Until next time, take care, and remember, some promises are worth waiting a lifetime to keep.